They kicked me out for getting her pregnant. 20 years later, I was a millionaire, and they came begging. It was a knock I hadn't heard in 20 years, 2 short raps, a pause, then a longer one. The kind my dad used to do when I was late for dinner or when my mom wanted to talk. I almost didn't answer it. I had just come home from Evan's robotics expo. He placed first, again, and I was still buzzing from the look on his face when they handed him the trophy. His hair was wild, tie crooked, cheeks flushed from applause. Rachel had cried. I had too, honestly. Quietly. I was mid-toast with a lukewarm root beer when the knock came. I opened the door. And there they were, Denise and Thomas Carter. My parents. The same people who threw me out of their house at age 20 when I told them Rachel was pregnant. The same people who didn't show up to Evan's birth, didn't call on his birthdays, didn't visit when Grandma Joyce passed. But here they were now. Standing on my porch in Maple Creek, looking older, thinner, but still wearing that same smug entitlement they always carried like a badge of honor. Brandon, my mother said, her voice already wobbling. You look successful. What do you want? She blinked. Can't a mother visit her son? You didn't think I was your son when you tossed me and Rachel out in the rain with nowhere to go. Thomas stepped forward. His jacket was still stiff and expensive looking, but his shoes were dusty. Look, we heard about Evan. About the app. The awards. The money. And, well, we thought it was time. Time for what? You gonna cut the umbilical cord now? He flinched at that. Good. Behind me, I heard the soft patter of footsteps. Dad? Evan. In a hoodie and socks, peering down the hallway, trophy in one hand, apple slice in the other. My father's eyes widened. Is that? Yeah, I said. That's Evan. Your grandson. You know, the one you told me to abandon. If you're not following our channel, you might never see it again. But if you're subscribed and use the bell, congratulations. You'll always have access to the most interesting stories whenever you want to watch and listen. Rachel came up behind Evan, setting a hand gently on his shoulder. She froze the moment she saw them. Wow, she muttered. Guess hell finally needed snowplows. I turned back to them. You've got 5 seconds to explain why you're here, or I'm shutting the door. Denise raised her hands. We're not here for money. You always start with that when you are. We made mistakes, she said quickly. We were scared. Thomas thought cutting you off would make you come to your senses. We didn't realize how strong you two would be. You didn't realize I'd build a company from scratch? That I'd raise Evan without a dime from you? No, she whispered. We didn't. My dad sighed. Look, Brandon. I'm not gonna pretend we didn't mess up. We did. But Evan, he's our blood. And now you want in? 20 years late. We just want to know him. You didn't want to know him when Rachel was going through early labor and we couldn't afford a cab to the hospital. That's not fair. Rachel stepped forward now, voice low but strong. Fair is watching your partner cry into a towel at 3 a.m. because he misses the parents who shut the door on him. Fair is taking minimum wage shifts while pregnant, while your boyfriend busts his back at Jimmy's Grill because no one else would hire a college dropout. You made your choice, I added. And we made ours. Denise wiped her eyes. You're right. She looked down at Evan again. He's perfect. He is, I said. And he's perfect because of what we went through, not in spite of it. There was silence. Heavy. Uncomfortable. Then Evan spoke up. Who are they? That, I said, is a long story. I didn't slam the door. I didn't shout. I just closed it, slow, final, and turned the lock. Rachel walked back to the kitchen. Evan followed. I stood there for a minute, hands still on the knob. Then I turned and walked into the life they never believed I could build. It started with a silence so heavy, you could hear the ticking of the old kitchen clock. Rachel and I sat side by side on the edge of the living room couch, our fingers locked so tightly my knuckles were white. My parents sat across from us, Thomas gripping his whiskey glass like a judge's gavel, and Denise holding her pearls like they were a shield. You what? My father had said, voice low, deadly calm. Rachel's pregnant, I repeated. I tried to keep my voice steady. Rachel was barely 18. I was 20. College sophomores. Broke and scared. But sure. So damn sure. The rain outside was getting heavier, splattering against the windows in messy streaks. It was late October in Boston, and the wind cut sharp. But inside that house, my childhood home, it was colder. So what's the plan? Thomas asked. Drop out? Work at a grocery store. I'll take more shifts. I'll figure it out. You'll figure it out. He let out a dry laugh. Do you even realize what this means for our name? The Carter name. Dad, you threw your life away. Over a girl. Rachel squeezed my hand tighter. I could feel her shaking. She's not just a girl. She's the mother of my child. Denise's lip curled. Oh, please. This isn't love. This is hormones and bad judgment. No. What's bad judgment is thinking your love is conditional. That shut them up for about 2 seconds. Then Thomas stood up and walked toward the fireplace. He looked down into the empty grate like he was searching for the right words. Then came the line that would echo in my head for 2 decades. If you walk out that door with her, don't come back. I didn't pause. Didn't ask for time. I looked at Rachel, then at him. Fine. I stood. You want me to walk? I'll walk. Brandon, Denise started. No. You made your choice. So now I'm making mine. Rachel stood too. She had one hand on her belly, a tiny bump just beginning to form. We stepped into the rain. It was bitter and relentless. Just like them. We had nowhere to go. No apartment. No money. No plan. Rachel's parents were out of state and struggling. The shelters were full. I didn't have many friends left after dropping out of my computer science program earlier that year. So I called the only person I could think of. Grandma Joyce. She lived in a tiny one-bedroom in East Boston. The kind of place with peeling linoleum and a front step that creaked when you exhaled too hard. She was already in bed when I called, but her voice was clear. Get here. Now. She opened the door in a pink robe and fuzzy slippers. Took one look at us, soaked, shivering, pregnant, and opened her arms. No questions. No lectures. Just warmth. What kind of parents let their boy stand in the rain with his girl and baby on the way? She muttered that more than once that night. Rachel cried into her hands in the tiny bathroom. I wrapped her in a towel and helped her dry her hair. Grandma made us grilled cheese and tomato soup with homemade bread, still warm from that evening's baking spree. We ate in silence. Every bite felt like coming home. You're staying here, she said. As long as you need. But there's only one bedroom. I got a couch and a recliner. Y'all are young. You'll manage. Grandma. No buts. That baby needs a roof and a start. You'll build the rest. That was Grandma Joyce. Fierce. Unapologetic. Real. She saved us that night. And every night after. I got a job at Jimmy's Grill the next day. The manager was a friend of Grandma's from church. You wash dishes, keep your mouth shut, and show up on time. I'll give you cash every Friday. I took it. Worked from 6 p.m. to 3 a.m. 6 nights a week. Came home smelling like grease and onions, hands raw from bleach. Rachel worked on her GED. Then started CNA training. Some nights, we shared a single grilled cheese because we couldn't afford more. But we were together. Evan was born on a freezing February morning. Labor lasted 13 hours. I held Rachel's hand the whole time, whispering promises I had no idea how to keep. But I meant everyone. He came out tiny, red-faced, and angry as hell. Like he already knew what world he was being dropped into. But when Rachel held him, he stopped crying. Just stared at her with these giant, dark eyes like he already trusted her with everything. I named him Evan. Grandma named him Little Miracle. We brought him home to that same one bedroom. Turned a corner of the living room into a nursery with a crib someone donated and a hand-me-down rocking chair. I remember sitting there one night, Evan sleeping on my chest, Rachel curled up beside us. And thinking, this is what real love costs. Not cars. Not money. Not reputations. Time. Sacrifice. Tears. When Evan turned 1, Grandma Joyce took me aside. Pulled out an envelope. Inside? $3,000 in cash. Where did you get this? Been saving. Baking. Cleaning. Fixing buttons. Every dollar I didn't spend, I kept for you. Grandma. Use it. Build something. You got brains. And that boy's gonna need more than diapers and lullabies. That's when I started learning to code again, in between shifts and diaper changes. Late at night. While Evan slept. While Rachel studied. I built the foundation of the app that would change our lives in the corner of Grandma's kitchen. Before we go further, don't forget to like this story, hit subscribe, and tap the bell so you don't miss what happens next. 3 years after Evan was born, I was still at Jimmy's Grill, burning my fingers on fryer baskets, scraping plates at 1 a.m., and programming in stolen chunks of time between shifts. I'd set up an old laptop on the kitchen counter at Grandma Joyce's, working with what little internet we had and using free software trials like Oxygen. Rachel had just started working part-time at a local clinic. Evan was in preschool. We had stability, but barely. What we didn't have was margin. One flat tire, one sick day, one missed shift, and the whole house of cards would topple. That's what made what happened next feel like fate. It was a Thursday. The restaurant was slammed. Jimmy's was one of those places people assumed had been there forever, crack booths, faded photos of Red Sox players, and jukebox songs stuck in the 80s. Most of the customers were regulars. But that day, someone new walked in. Wore a suit that didn't belong in a greasy spoon. Mid-40s. Sharp haircut. Air of someone who didn't get told no very often. I didn't think much of it. Until I tripped. Well, not exactly tripped, more like got shoved sideways by a swinging kitchen door. And a full cup of coffee went flying, all over Suit Guy's lap. I froze. Sir, I'm so sorry. I didn't see. He stood, napkins in hand, blotting his slacks. Then looked me dead in the eye. Is that house blend or Colombian? I blinked. House. Definitely house. He let out a dry chuckle. Shame. Would have been worth it if it was Colombian. Then he waved it off like it was nothing. Accidents happen. He sat back down, pulled out a laptop, and started typing. I thought that was the end of it. Until 2 days later, I saw him again. This time, he waved me over. You got a minute? I glanced at Jimmy, who nodded from behind the register. Sure. Name's Landon Reese, he said, extending a hand. CEO at Horizon Properties. I shook it, cautiously. Brandon Carter. You got good reflexes. Most people would have spilled that coffee on the customer and then dropped the pot. I laughed nervously. I've had a lot of practice. You do anything besides this? I hesitated, then told him the truth. I code. I build apps. I'm teaching myself. He raised an eyebrow. Yeah. I pulled out my cracked phone and showed him the prototype I'd been working on, a real-time budgeting and micro-savings app that auto-rounds purchases and helps working families save without thinking about it. He scrolled, tapped, then nodded slowly. You build this? From scratch. Took me 2 years. He closed the app and looked up. Come see me Monday. That Monday, I sat in the waiting area of Horizon Properties. Clean floors. Glass walls. Receptionist who looked like she'd stepped out of a magazine. I felt like a fraud in my second-hand button-up. But when Landon came out, he didn't look at my shoes or my handshake. He looked at me. Let's talk opportunity. He didn't offer me a job right away. Instead, he invited me to a coding boot camp Horizon was sponsoring. Paid for it out of his department's budget. Prove you can keep up, he said. I'll find you a desk. I did more than keep up. 3 months later, I was an intern. 6 months after that, I was hired. A year later, junior developer. Then full stack. By the time Evan was in middle school, I was on the management track. Rachel was thriving too. She finished her nursing degree and joined the ER rotation at Riverbend Medical. We moved out of Grandma's place into a small 2-bedroom on the edge of Maple Creek. Nothing fancy, but it had central heat and a real backyard. Evan planted tomatoes the first week. He also started building his own websites. I'll never forget the day I came home and found him in the garage with a whiteboard. What's this? AITA. Tell me. He explained, a secure, anonymous feedback tool for kids in schools to report bullying or unsafe situations directly to counselors and admin, no login. No trace. Just a voice recorder and a submit button. I stared. You came up with that? Well, yeah. He was 11. By the time he turned 13, he had 3 local schools using it on a trial basis. By 14, he'd pitched it to a startup accelerator. They bit. Grandma Joyce saw it all. She cheered louder than anyone. Every school award. Every hackathon. Every late-night win. She used to say, that boy's gonna change the world. And you'll be the reason he knows how. She was right. The app scaled fast. A regional education board picked it up for a grant. Landon helped Evan set up an LLC under my name until Evan was old enough. By the time he turned 16, he was legally the CEO of his own tech venture. That's when the Carter name started making headlines again. Except this time, it wasn't my dad's firm or Adam's law school reputation. It was Evan Carter, the son they tried to erase. The house felt different after she passed. Not quieter. She had never been loud. But something deeper was gone. Like the air lost its warmth. Like the walls exhaled all at once and forgot how to breathe. It happened on a Sunday morning. She passed peacefully in her sleep, with a knit blanket over her knees and Evan's 3rd-grade art project still pinned above her bed. The last thing she said to me the night before? You finally got heat that doesn't bang in the pipes. Took you long enough, baby. She was smiling. She always smiled when she was proud. The funeral was small. Just family. A few neighbors. Some church ladies who cried harder than I expected. Evan stood next to me the whole time, holding Mr. Buttons. Yes, he still kept that old bear in a box under his bed. Rachel gave the eulogy. I couldn't do it. I tried. But my voice cracked on the first sentence. We cleaned out the house the week after. Rachel handled the kitchen. Evan took her sewing room. I took the attic. Dusty boxes. Old quilts. Handwritten recipes. And then I found the shoebox, tucked behind a suitcase full of baby clothes. Inside, dozens of envelopes, all labeled in the same neat handwriting. Evan, diapers fund, Brandon, tuition dreams, emergency bread, backup for the backup, each one stuffed with cash. Some had $20. Some had $200. The largest? Over $1,000. Labeled first apartment someday. Tears hit my hands before I could stop them. All those years we thought we were scraping by on just my paychecks. She had been slipping extra into our savings, paying for school books in secret, leaving a sale receipt on shoes she full-priced. That woman had carried us without ever asking for a thank you. At the very bottom of the box was a letter. No envelope. Just folded paper with my name. Brandon, if you're reading this, I've probably finally let the good Lord take me home. Don't be mad. I was tired. I just want you to know, I was never scared for you. Not even that first night in the rain. You were always going to be okay. Because you had fire in your gut and love in your heart. That's a rare combo, baby. And Rachel? That girl is steel wrapped in velvet. Don't ever let her go. She saved you more than I did. As for Evan, he's going to light the sky, and you're going to be the reason he knows which direction to fly. This little money won't make you rich. But it's a reminder. You never did it alone. Love you forever, Grandma Joyce. I sat in that attic for over an hour, just holding that paper. I'd never felt so broke and so wealthy at the same time. I framed that letter. It sits on my desk in the Horizon Properties office, where I now manage a department of 20 developers. Landon Reese saw it once, read it, then looked at me with this tight-lipped nod. She was one of the greats. She was the reason I'm here. No, he said. You are. But she saw it first. After her passing, Rachel suggested we name Evan's app after her. We added Joyce AI as a secondary brand name in tribute. Evan coded a little virtual assistant in her voice, pulled from old voicemails, to walk kids through the app's features. Now don't be shy, sugar, it would say. Let's get your voice heard. It became a hit. Schools loved it. Not just the tech, the heart. And just like that, Joyce Carter became part of something bigger than our little family. Months passed. The company grew. The news started circling again. I knew it was only a matter of time before the Carter name brought someone back around. But I didn't expect the phone call from Adam, my brother. Hey, he said awkwardly. Heard about Evan. And saw the app on the news. Okay. Mom and Dad are talking about reaching out. They already did. Showed up at my door. Seriously. Yeah. Looked shocked that I wasn't living in a cardboard box. He sighed. They don't know how to handle being wrong. They never had to before. I'm not them, Brandon. No. But you didn't help either. I didn't know. You didn't ask. There was silence. Then he said something I didn't expect. I want to meet Evan. I didn't say yes. I didn't say no. But for the first time in a long time, I didn't slam the door. The invitation came on embossed paper. Heavy. Expensive. The kind of paper that whispers, we're rich and we want you to know it. Denise and Thomas Carter were hosting a fundraiser, some society dinner for a local historic preservation group. The same group my father once called a bunch of dusty old women with trust funds. Funny how things change when your last name starts popping up in tech circles and glossy magazines. I had no intention of going, until Evan said, let's go. Rachel and I both turned at once. What? I want to see them, he said. I want them to see me. So we went. I wore a suit I'd only used for funerals and product launches. Rachel wore a midnight blue dress Evan picked out himself. And Evan? He wore confidence. 13 years old and already carrying himself like someone twice his age. Polished shoes. Tucked shirt. App CEO in the making. When we walked into the Carter estate, silence rolled through the room like thunder behind glass. Whispers. Forks pausing midair. Denise spotted us first, wine glass in hand, mouth frozen in a cocktail party smile that cracked the second she saw Evan. Brandon. Rachel. And Evan, is it? Yes, ma'am. He extended his hand. She blinked, hesitated, and shook it. Thomas approached next, slower. Stiffer. You're taller than I expected. Evan smirked. Most people are surprised when they meet someone they underestimated. I nearly choked on my own breath. Rachel squeezed my hand hard, stifling a grin. Then came the toast. The host, some city councilman, took the mic and started thanking donors. Volunteers. Boring, safe applause line stuff. Until he paused and said, and this evening, we are honored to have among us one of Massachusetts' youngest entrepreneurs. Evan Carter, whose app, WhistleSafe, is currently protecting over 300,000 students across the East Coast. The crowd turned. All eyes on Evan. He stood up, calm as you please, and walked to the mic. Thank you, he said, voice steady. When I built this tool, I didn't do it for praise. I did it because too many kids like me are told to keep quiet, told their voices don't matter. He looked straight at my parents. That silence ends with me. Pin drop silence. Then applause. Big. Real. Not the polite golf clap kind. The kind people mean. Afterward, Denise approached me near the bar. He's remarkable. He is. You did well with him. We did it without you. She swallowed. I deserve that. You deserve more than that, but I'm trying to be civil. He doesn't hate us. No, he doesn't know you well enough to hate you. Thomas joined us. Look, Brandon, I won't pretend we weren't wrong. We were. You think saying that now makes it better? No, but maybe it's a start. Evan walked up behind me. Grandpa, he said. Thomas's eyes widened. Yes, you should know. I don't blame you for how you treated my parents. That was your mistake. He paused. But I will judge you by what you do next. That's my son. Polite, but sharp, like a sword sheathed in silk. They didn't respond. They just stood there, uncertain, exposed. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't the boy begging for approval. I was the man walking away. Back at home, Evan plopped down on the couch. Well, that was fun. You sure about that? Yeah, I mean, I got to speak my mind. They needed to hear it. Rachel smiled at him. You were perfect. Grandma Joyce would have said I should have hit them with a breadstick. We all laughed. A week later, Horizon Properties held a company-wide town hall. Landon Reese stood at the podium, announcing the launch of our Social Impact Wing, a department fully dedicated to community-first tech initiatives. And then, I'd like to introduce the new Director of Outreach and Partnerships, Brandon Carter. Applause. I stepped up. Evan filmed it on his phone, grinning. Rachel stood in the back, tears in her eyes. I looked out at the crowd and said, this started with a laptop on a kitchen counter. It started with warm bread and cold nights. And now, it starts again. But this time, I'm not alone. It came in a plain white envelope. No logo, no wax seal, just my name, handwritten, and the looping, formal handwriting I hadn't seen since high school birthday cards. It was from Denise. Rachel found it first, tucked under the mailbox lid. You gonna read it? I stared at it for a long time. Not yet. You don't owe them anything, you know? I know. But some part of me, the part that still remembered homemade lasagna on Sundays and my mom brushing lint off my jacket before class, needed to know what she had to say. 2 nights later, when the house was quiet and Evan was asleep, I opened it. It wasn't long, but it hit hard. Brandon, I've written and rewritten this more times than I can count. I know nothing I say can undo the pain we caused, but I owe you something I never gave you when you needed it most. The truth. Your father and I didn't disown you because we didn't love you. We did it because we were afraid of shame, of gossip, of losing control over the life we thought you were supposed to have. We were cowards. Your brother, Adam, told us you were floundering, that Rachel was unstable, that you needed tough love. We believed him because it was easier than believing we'd failed you. That was our choice. And it was wrong. I watched Evan speak that night at the gala. I saw in his eyes everything I missed in yours. Resolve, kindness, depth. He is you. And you are everything we refused to see. I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted you to know. We see you now. Love, Mom. I sat there for a while, letter in hand, letting the silence breathe. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I just existed in that moment. A man who no longer needed what he once begged for. I didn't respond to the letter. At least, not directly. But a few weeks later, I dropped a package in the mail. Inside, a copy of Evan's app manual. A printed photo of Evan receiving his first tech award, standing beside Rachel and me, arms locked. And a note. This is the family you threw away. And this is the future we built without you. Months passed. Evan's app went national. A nonprofit bought the rights for implementation in all 50 states. He donated 30% of the earnings to kids in under-resourced districts. Rachel was promoted to ER shift lead. I started speaking at panels and tech conferences, always ending my story with one simple truth. I was never alone. I had my wife, my son, and a woman who believed in us when no one else did. I'd hold up Grandma Joyce's letter and say, legacy isn't built with wealth. It's built with love and grit. Evan turned 16 and got a car. Old Civic. Busted AC. But he loved it. First thing he did? Drive to the cemetery. He left a bouquet and a coating patch from his backpack on her grave. Thanks for the Wi-Fi, Grandma, he whispered. She would have cackled. One quiet night, Evan asked, do you ever miss them? Who? Grandma and Grandpa. I paused. I missed the people they could have been, but not who they were? No, not really. He nodded. Me neither. He didn't say it with anger, just honesty. And that's how I knew we had truly healed. Today, our family lives in a brownstone with creaky floors and too many books. Rachel still leaves coffee cups in random places. Evan is building his next big thing. And me? I'm just the man who was told he'd never be anything, and ended up raising someone who already is everything. Because sometimes getting kicked out is the best door that ever closed. If this story touched you, share it with someone who needs to hear it too. Also, tell us in the comments, where are you watching from? What city and country? And have you or someone you know ever been through something like this?